What's a gross thing you secretly do? Story 1. I get really painful periods that can cause a lot of nausea. I used to have to take time off work because I would be such a mess. Now I work from home and can just throw up into a bucket in private at my desk and keep working. Has saved me wasting all my sick time on periods. Answer. So I know that unfortunately it's still a thing for some doctors to just be like, okay, it's period related, just deal with it. But I promise you that what you are experiencing is not normal, and it is something that you can get help for if you push for it. I know some with endometriosis that lived with it for so long because they thought it was just part of it, but it's not. If your GP doesn't want to do tests, you could consider another GP. But please, for your quality of life, if you haven't done so already, sorry if you have, you should try and get some help for this. Sorry you are going through this. Story 2. I love squeezing zits. I have a friend who is a little old lady, and she currently has a booge blackhead next to her nose, and I'm literally fantasizing about removing it. Oh, the satisfaction. I try to hide my enthusiasm for them, though, cause I don't want to seem too weird. Story 3. OCD skin picking on my hands and fingers. I have destroyed all of my fingerprints, from completely gone to partially missing. The pain is unbearable, but I cannot stop. It itches terribly, and I have tried everything to alleviate the pain and itching. It started as patches of eczema, and I have turned it into perpetual bleeding. God help me if it isn't the bane of my existence to keep it constantly clean and moisturized for fear of infection, and to help it becoming tempting to destroy further. Answer. Silicone finger protectors until they heal. Don't think you can get away with going just a few hours without them, because you will ultimately, every single time, start picking at them. You have to religiously wear them. If there are flaws there, you will pick. Hibiclens to prevent infections. Edit. Tried to fix link unsuccessfully. Just search silicone or gel finger protectors or COTS. There are so many different variations. Some have holes for air. Story 4. I don't do it anymore. But when I worked in warehouses in my 20s, if I was home and just watching something, I like to rub certain parts of my body like chest, behind knees, elbows with my finger. I'd get this weird dirt-dead skin roll and I'd collect as much as I could and wad it into a dead skin ball. That was it. Would just look at how big it got and toss it into the bin before showering. Story 5. I don't understand why my toenail is shaped the way it is. It's practically always ingrown and cutting into the sides of my toe, even after having surgery for it. So every now and then I just slice along the cuticle and remove the whole thing. It's saved me from so much pain and discomfort, but nailless toes always look weirdly gross. Answer. You can keep your nail. I get them too. The trick, as your nail is growing, but just before it grows under into the skin, take a piece of cotton ball, rip a bit off that you can ball up, and shove under the corner to keep it from growing into the skin. I use a nail stick for this. Change it daily. I will use tea tree oil on it sometimes too, especially in the summer. It actually trained my nails to not become ingrown so easily. Story 6. Rest here for now, stranger. You've scrolled a long way in this land of terrors. Come, rest by the fire and pee in my Gatorade bottle if you need. We are safe here. Story 7. Pee in the shower at times. I don't make a habit of it or anything, but if I'm in there and feel the need, I just do it, LOL. I think most people do, even if very few admit it. Story 8. Pretty embarrassing, you asked, but I have a skin-picking disorder, which in my opinion is really just a bad habit I've developed. I essentially pick all the scabs and dry skin on my body and eat them. It started with picking my nose and eating when I was a kid, then it moved on to skin pieces on my scalp, and now it's just everywhere on my body. It actually is disgusting to write down and say, but it feels pretty harmless on a daily basis. I do feel the need to hide it from everybody. I did also hear that this can be an indication of OCD, which could honestly check out in my case. Answer: body-focused repetitive behaviors, BFRBs, can be an indicator of a number of conditions. I have a dermatillomania, skin-picking disorder, though I don't eat anything. Trichotillomania, hair-plucking pulling, is another very common one. I have autism and ADHD, which is the primary cause of my skin picking. According to BFRB.org, skin picking may be a symptom of a dermatological disorder, an autoimmune disorder, body dysmorphic disorder, obsessive-compulsive disorder, substance abuse disorder, e.g. opiate withdrawal, developmental disorder, e.g. autism spectrum disorder, or psychosis. Comprehensive evaluation and accurate diagnosis is important in determining an appropriate treatment plan. Edit. As you general specifics 925 pointed out, dermatophagia is skin eating, especially the skin around the nails, and trichophagia is hair eating. Story 9. My fiancé and I love popping each other's pimples and blackheads like a couple of apes checking each other for bugs. Story 10. Smell my wife's worn panties as I'm moving her heap of clothes from the floor to the laundry hamper. Fudge, I love her scent so much. For just a second, it makes me feel like I am right there with her, between her thighs. It's this whole other sense that when I tap in, it makes me absolutely feral for her. Although I guess it's not a secret, because I've confessed to her that I do this sometimes. Story 11. If I see a hair in my takeout meal, I just put it away and continue eating. If there is no mold, bug, or God knows what, I do not see the issue at all. Why should I call in and make a hell of a day for the poor cook who does that for 8 HRs a day? Story 12. Free bleed at the end of my periods. Sometimes in the night I know I'm leaking through and just don't care and sleep through it. Story 13. IDK if this is gross in like a nasty way, but before I shower, sometimes I will try the most disgusting experimental makeup look, since I know I'm gonna wash it off soon anyways. Story 14. I get naked to poop, and I crouch on the seat like a gargoyle instead of letting my cheeks hit the seat. EDK, less gross, more weird. Story 15. I enjoy the smell of my own farts. Like to the point where I'll Dutch oven myself or get upset when my husband rolls down the car windows to let it escape. But the smell of other people's gas? Nope. Disgusting, vile, offensive. Story 16. I have been pretty consistent with my cocaine usage over the years. Less so now than a couple years back, but anyone that spent a full night doing cocaine knows of the clogged nose they are likely to get. During my heavier using times, I would spend the day after holding a nostril closed and forcefully blowing the other into my shower to clear the gunk and blood clots. Now I have a habit of blowing snot rockets whenever I don't feel like I have completely clear nostrils, whether I've done substances or not. Not matter where, as long as no one can see me. Yes, I dislike that I do it. Also, yes, I'm single. Story 17. I've never cut my fingernails with anything other than my teeth. Also, I don't bite my fingernails for any other reason other than cutting them when they are too long. Oddly, metal bothers me too much to use that way. Story 18. When I was a teenager, I could spend hours popping my pimples. Today, I don't really have pimples anymore, but when I wax and my leg hair grows back, I love to pierce the bulb of the hair that is forming. I'm really ashamed to say it, but it's really satisfying. I regularly try to stop, but it's a behavior that I do even without realizing it. So now I have marks on my legs and it disgusts me. Story 19. I pee in my backyard all the time. I just love peeing outside and it's my yard, damn it. I do have bushes fence. Story 20. Sometimes I smell my panties when I take them off. I know it's weird and gross, but I think I smell amazing. I've been told that down there I smell great by lovers. I like the way I smell. I'm a female. Story 21. I never really thought it was that gross until my wife made it abundantly clear. I tear my toenails. Clippers never really feel right. I never tear them too far. It's like a fun game when I need my toenails shorter. Story 22. Do people not realize everyone picks at and/or smells different parts of their body? There's not a single person on the planet who doesn't occasionally scratch off dead skin or do a smell check. Story 23. I consistently cummed at the corner of my room for years until it became almost a part of the wall. I was never aware that the smell of my room is horrendous because I became immune to it. Answer. There was a trend on TikTok somewhat recently where people were showing their messy rooms. But I mean messy, like depression hit and didn't leave, so they're basically living in squalor. I have a long list of mental health and personality disorders, but I don't live in squalor, so don't come for me about being insensitive. Anyways, one, or maybe a few, of the videos showed their cum curtains. Literally curtains in their adult bedrooms that instead of using a sock, or corner of your carpet apparently, they just let it fly across to paint the curtains. And I just really think that's something that never needed to end up on TikTok. Story 24. Sniff my fingers after itching anything. It's not even that I want to. I think I just developed a form of Tourette's. Story 25. I use those dental sticks all the time, driving, watching TV, sitting outside, and I don't always throw them away, so I find used ones everywhere. It's real bad in my truck. Story 26. I have trichotillomania and will search my scalp for the coarse hairs and then pick them out. The best ones have like a goopy root at the end, and I rub it on my lips 'cause it feels cool and wet. Sorry, it's nasty. Story 27. Sometimes, if it's taking me too long to poop, but it's right there, I put my fingers in my female body part and massage it along towards the exit. I've never told anyone this, ever. Story 28. I like to break chocolate squares into crumbs for my yogurt using a knife, and chopping the square annoys me. So I throw the chocolate square into my mouth, lightly chew and crumble it up, and then open my mouth, let it drop into my yogurt from there. Most say it's gross and weird. I find it highly effective and efficient. Story 29. I have literally not shared this ever, but I do pick my nose, and then eat it. I know. I also have awful eczema at the very bottom of my back, absolute top of my crack, and I can't stop scratching and picking the skin there. That, on the other hand, is absolutely not eaten. Story 30. I let my menstrual disc get really full and then pull it out in the shower and watch all the blood and bits go down the drain. Kinda looks like I'm giving birth. Story 31. Eating my dinner in the bathtub while watching a show on my phone after a particularly long and terrible shift in the ER. Story 32. I cut the calluses off my heels and burn them in a candle sometimes. Sometimes I just play with the pieces. Story 33. When no one else is home, I express my anal glands on the furniture. Then I go pretend to be a human on Reddit. Story 34. I have a bedside table that I wipe boogers on the underside of, then scrape off every couple of months. Story 35. When I eat Cheez-Its, I chew one up and spit it onto another one, then take a third and make a little sandwich. It's incredible. Story 36. I'm demolishing a juicy jerk tomato as we speak. With the other hand, lol. It's slurpy, delicious, but a little embarrassing to eat in front of others. Lol. Story 37. I have a lactation disorder, so I have breast milk, but have never been pregnant. I use it for skincare and TBH. My skin has never been clearer. I know this isn't unheard of, but I would never say this out loud. Story 38. I pee in the shower, ha ha ha. Just be sure to crouch if you have certain parts. Peeing standing can mess up your pelvic floor. Story 39. IDK about gross, but sometimes I eat ramen noodles raw, as in uncooked. It was a depression meal for a while, but I actually just like how it tastes. The hot and spicy brand is lightly salted. It's not much different than eating a potato chip. Story 40. Put my finger in my belly button and smell it. It's the most horrid smell, but I just keep doing it. Ha ha! Story 41. I have psoriasis, so areas of my skin make excess cells that flake. So I have a lil ear pick with a camera so I can pick gunk skin flakes out of my ears. Out of curiosity, I sometimes stick it up my nose too, lol. Story 42. I remember a similar post from years before, and there was a British dude who confessed he eats spiders, just randomly catches them and swallows. Story 43. Piss in a jug. I have very little space in my apartment, and because of that, my desk has to sit in front of my bathroom door, and if I want to get to the bathroom, I have to crawl under my desk. Not worth the hassle just to pee. So I use a jug that I empty out when it's full or time for me to shower before bed, whichever comes first. Story 44. When I get home from work around 1 a.m., my wife is already asleep. I find the socks she wore all day at work. She usually kicks them off when she sleeps, and they are just in the floor next to the bed. I smell them while I self-care. I do it almost every night. Story 45. Dig in my ears until they stop itching, but also to pull out dry skin and other debris. It's so satisfying, almost better than picking my nose. Story 46. Oh man, I have a bad one, but this will get buried because I came so late, but whatever. If I am in bed and have a booger or have to clear my throat and too lazy to get out of bed or don't have tissues nearby, I will wipe it at underside of my fitted sheet, where it's hidden, and will just leave it there until I wash my sheets next. Story 47. I pick my nose when home. I'm not ashamed of it. Sometimes that slimy-tailed booger is the best thing to pull out. That little dry-tipped mother effer that's been tickling for 10 minutes, that pulls out with the long tail of slime behind it. I love it. Goes right into a tissue. Story 48. Drink milk directly from the bottle, then put it back in the fridge. Might sound trivial, but my family has a code with these things. Story 49. VR PR Zeron. I installed a lock in my home office because I could have a heart attack if I'm startled while playing VR. Story 50. I bite my nails and I'll keep a sliver to move in and out of the gaps in my teeth. I've done it since I was a kid, but I find it really satisfying. Story 51. I have a special blanket I've had since I was a kid, and I always dislike when my mom washed it. I moved out like 6 years ago, and I think I've washed it like maybe twice. Story 52. Tonsil stones. Can't believe this wasn't mentioned more. Cough those horrible little balls up, smash them between fingers, and start sniffing away. Story 53. Sometimes I smell my own armpits just to check how bad it really is before deciding if I need to shower. Story 54. Pick out each individual tonsil stone with a dental tool. Sometimes sniff them. The stank reminds me of when my ears were stretched. Story 55. Maybe not gross to everyone, but I have an awful habit of biting the inside of my lips. Most of the time, I don't even realize I'm doing it until my jaw starts hurting from the motion, or if I bleed. I swallowed the skin. Story 56. I clean the toilet before every poop. It's one of the biggest reasons why I dislike pooping anywhere else but home. If I have to poop at someone's house, I pray they have bleach or some kind of cleaner. The kicker? I have IBS-D, so there's a lot of suffering in places I will not poop. Story 57. I absolutely dislike the feeling of dry hands. If I don't have any hand cream on me, I will spit into my palms and rub them together. This is something I am so ashamed of, but I think there's more behind all of this than just hating the feeling of dry hands. I can't stop this on my own. Story 58. I've been tasting my own cum regularly for years. Cum is said to taste best if your eating habits are good. Therefore, if I find it yummy, I feel motivated to keep it up. Story 59. If I really need a piss and can't be bothered going upstairs, I'll piss into a certain mug that's at the back of the cupboard. I rinse it every time and no one ever uses it, but it's still fudge grim. But I still do it. Story 60. What don't I do? Ha ha, far though mine is gross. But why not share for all on Reddit to see? When I feel anxious, I will pick off my toenails so they bleed sometimes. I actually haven't done this in about a year, but when I did, it was hard not to do it. I looked it up once and it said it was a disorder. Surprise, surprise. Story 61. I don't do it anymore, but I would if I had access. I always enjoyed picking dead skin off of someone's sunburn. The more bubbly it is, the better, but not like second degree and pus-filled, just raised. You can rip off a piece and try to connect all the bubbles and see how big of a piece of dead skin you can take off at once, like you're skinning a clementine. Bonus points if you can hear the skin ripping. I don't eat it, though. Story 62. After I shower, I like to lay with the wet towels in my bed and sleep with them, but over time my bed smells like mildew. Story 63. I have stretched ears, and occasionally I'll take the tunnels out of my ear and sniff them. They usually smell like sour blue cheese, which I am not fond of, but I can't resist a good whiff every now and again. Story 64. I pay a man to jerk another man off onto a cracker while I watch, and then I say my what a lovely tea party. Story 65. Have you ever heard of waffle stomping? I secretly like to remind people what waffle stomping is. Story 66. Using the alt account for this one, pick my nose and eat it, bite my toenails, sniff my socks after removing them, sniff toilet paper after wiping, smell my own farts, eat my eye boogers, pick my scabs and eat them, pick my scalp and eat it, shower rarely, brush my teeth, rarely. Wow, I should really reflect. Story 67. Well, here it goes. I scrape my cock with a very sharp pocket knife capable of shaving my leg. The exorbittantly sharp blade scratches it so well, I get some skin off like a pumice stone on your foot, but only in a couple swipes. It's like a heel scratch on steroids. Story 68. When I really want to piss off my wife, I'll squat jerk to grass and push harder, so my fart reverberates off of our wood floors. Yes, I've shoot myself doing this at least a couple of times. Story 69. I wipe my boogers just wherever. If nobody is looking and I have a big booger, I will wipe it somewhere. If it's in someone's house, they won't find the smeared fudge until they accidentally touch it. And by the time they do touch it, it won't look like a booger anymore. Every time I do it, I feel ashamed, but there's a rush in defiling something seemingly pure, like the bottom of the bed spring at an Airbnb mattress or directly underneath a public bathroom sink. Extra points of I can hide it in plain sight. Story 70. Pick my skin. Mainly my scalp, there's a name for it, which I can't remember. And dig into my skin a little like my random chin hairs and leaves little scars. Story 71. Pee in the kitchen sink, counter is ball height and I rinse it down after. It's just convenient and uses less water. Meh. Story 72. If I take a really messy poop in public, I'll wet the toilet paper with the toilet water, post-flush, to help with the cleaning process. Story 73. Every woman I ever meet, for some reason, my mind immediately jumps to, I wonder if she's ever been fudge in the jerk. It happens whether there's any attraction or not. There's not a judgmental element to it either. It's just a thought I have every time I'm talking to any adult, female individual. I've always suspected it was because I started watching adult content too young, lol. Story 74. Pick my nose, smear hide the boogers in the area behind my knee where they are less likely to be seen. Story 75. Not sure if gross or no, but my girlfriend and I casually joke about breaking the character AI filter for the sake of ships and then cackle like a bunch of idiots. Edit. We go out of our way to break the CI filter in a freaky way because it makes us laugh.